Hello, it's me, Stephen J. Miller. If you are watching this on YouTube, just to let you know that you should be subscribing. Please do subscribe to the channel. I would love that. Also, like the video if you find it useful. And also, feel free to comment, ask any questions down below, and I'll do my best to answer them for you. Right, in this video, what I want to talk about is how to manage, how to cure, how to treat your anxiety if you are struggling with anxiety right now. And I'm speaking in the capacity of two things. Firstly, as a registered clinical hypnotherapist, and secondly, as the founder and co-creator of the Hypno Antidepressant, the world's first, and also the Hypno Anti-Anxiety. So what I want to give you are three practical things that you can do to support yourself, to manage your anxiety so you move forward and live the life you want to live. The first thing I have to say, of course, is to make sure that you are also consulting your clinician or your GP so that you can obviously talk it over with a qualified medic. Right, the very first thing I want to say here, I've got three things written down, and this will be delivered informally because I think that's the best way that you'll take these on board. And let me start with that. Right, now the first thing I want to encourage you to do, is to avoid fighting it, okay? Now, anxiety is one of those things that can come in, and the natural reaction for many of us, me included, is that we want to fight it because it's not nice. It doesn't feel nice. It doesn't sound nice. It doesn't even taste nice, right? But the one thing that's important is to pay attention to the anxiety and to avoid getting into that battle with it. Because if you ever notice that when you are in that situation and you're thinking to yourself, you know, I've got this, for example, presentation to do, and oh my God, I'm so anxious, and we start saying all these things. It makes it worse. And often what we forget to realize is that we're all fallible. Now, what that means is that it's okay not to be perfect, right? And the one thing that I want to encourage you to do through the screen today as you watch this, and I'll be talking about this later, something that's important for you, is to accept that you don't have to be perfect. And that also, right, it's okay to cock up. However, what I know you're probably thinking is, yes, but if this goes wrong, I'm so anxious about it. If this goes wrong, let's take a presentation as an example. If this goes wrong, I could lose my career. It could affect my career. People will laugh at me. People will they'll just think I'm useless. They'll think I'm unconfident. And all of that anxiety, of course, is created by this perception. And I'll be talking about how you can change that perception, help change that perception later in this video, so keep watching. What else do I want to say on this? And I get it. I totally get it. But what's the alternative? If you're not welcoming in the anxiety constructively by saying to yourself, okay, I'm anxious. That happens. We all get anxious. I accept it. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to enjoy it. All of those things. You're starting to turn around the perception, and also by doing that, you are also desensitizing the kind of intensity of the anxiety. So I want to encourage you to remember that when you're feeling anxious, avoid fighting it, because also one of the things that I've noticed over 20 years supporting people to reduce anxiety is that they actually become anxious about anxiety. So you get into this sort of cycle. I'm anxious because I'm worried about being anxious. Let it in, note it's there, smile at it, and accept it's all right not to be perfect. And I'll give you a real example of this, right? My auntie, this is years ago, it took her 7 times to pass a driving test, right? And what happened was she used to get so anxious that on the 7th time, she weren't particularly feeling well. She had a cold and whatever. And on the 7th time, she was indifferent. She still wanted to do well. Of course she did, right? She was motivated to do the test. But she said she got in the car. It was like, whatever will be, will be. I'm going to do my best. That's it, whatever. and she passed with flying colours. So it's just another example of how, accept infallibility is okay. Do not fight the anxiety. Number two is working on replacing the anxiety with confidence. Now, let me explain more about that. What I mean by that is, my belief, it's not everyone's belief, but it's certainly my belief, is that anxiety drops as confidence increases. And one of the things that you can do, let's get on to number 2, by the way. Is it there? Yes, it is. Replace anxiety with confidence. One of the things that you can do is absolutely begin to build your confidence, even in different ways than what's triggering your anxiety. So let's say, for example, you have a social anxiety, and this is quite a common one, when you're with a lot of people or when you're in front of people and eyes are on you, because often doing presentations in front of people can be very, very stressful and anxiety triggering. What you may do is you may put yourself into different situations that aren't overly intensive, right? They're not overly intensive. Small situations where you still get a little bit of anxiety. So let's say, I'm going to take the example of social anxiety. Let's say it's someone who has to do presentations, or they're going to be the best man at a wedding or best person at a wedding, it is these days. And they're in front of an audience and it triggers their anxiety. The one thing, and they may say, I just don't like being center of attention. Now, the one thing that person may do to build the confidence is start very small by asking 3 strangers in the street what the time is, or asking them a question, or asking a different thing to 3 strangers in the street. That gives them the ouch factor, but also at the same time makes them feel pretty good about themselves once they have done it. And that's the key. Okay. So the confidence goes up a little notch. Okay. If we've got hot confidence here, what we're doing with these little situations is we're building it bit by bit. And that's just one example of stretching your confidence. But the one thing I'm saying here is begin to build your confidence in other areas, not necessarily in the area that triggers your anxiety, so that you feel better about yourself. Because the better you mentally feel about yourself by achieving those things, the much more likely it is that your anxiety will ultimately drop, be desensitized, as I say it. The third thing, now this is important as well. This also links into what I said at the beginning. Let me get it here. Is that one. Yes, imagine the shit differently. And the one thing I say here is, this is where it links into hypnosis, hypnotherapy, is I encourage you to take yourself off daily, probably 3 times, okay? Take yourself away where it's safe to do so. So you wouldn't do this when you're driving or using dangerous machinery, of course, right? Well, I'm just checking the time, guys, so I don't waffle on too much. And what I want you to do when you take yourself away and sit comfortably is just give yourself 5 minutes with your eyes closed, imagining the situation that you're anxious about differently. Now, if you've got what I call a generalized anxiety, then of course you can just imagine yourself, for example, being confident and at ease with yourself in a number of situations. Now, I said the word imagine, but you can also talk to yourself, okay? I call it walkie-talkie hypnosis. And walkie-talkie hypnosis is where you would sit and have a little conversation with yourself, an empowering conversation where you're actually just telling yourself in that moment that you are conditioning your mind deeply to become more at ease and more confident about yourself. And the one thing that I encourage you to do when you do this third strategy is to take your time with it. Okay, take your time with it. So in this video, I wanted to give you 3 practical things that you can do. Siren, it's a sign. It means that, can you hear the siren? I don't know if you can, but the siren going off, it's a sign to say this is the way to do it, right? So the 3 things: avoid the fight. Secondly, stretch your confidence, replacing anxiety with confidence. And thirdly, let's start imagining that shit differently. Okay. Like I've said, subscribe to this channel. It'd be great to have you on board. Like the video if you think it's useful, of course, and make sure that you comment below with any feedback and also any questions that you have, because, of course, I will do my best to answer them for you. Right, on that note, I'm going to make a cuppa, and I'll speak to you soon. Take good care. Bye for now.